In the last lecture, I sort of hurriedly discussed this bit, the beginning, that we defined for a field K and for any ring containing K, if I take any prime ideal P, then we define this notation. So dimension of R over K at P, if we can call it this way, that is the transcendence degree of Kp, where Kp is the residue field at P, and then dimension of the local ring are localized at P. So this is what we are going to use this shorthand for, that sum of these two numbers, we are calling it the dimension of R over K at P. Okay, and this is an obvious observation that this dimension of R over K at P and dimension of Rp over K at PRP at the maximal idea, they are of course the same. That follows easily, right, from this fact. Okay, so now we are gradually moving towards a criteria for regularity, and as I have already told you that this in some sense is pretty effective, because if we will be giving a criteria for affine algebras, and you will see that if you know a presentation of the affine algebra, or rather the defining ideal in the polynomial ring, then you can see that this criteria really helps you determine, because it is in terms of rank of some matrix and things like that. Okay. So this was the first proposition, which is kind of a technical proposition, which would be used, that if you have a Noetherian local ring containing a field K, and if you take any finite extension of K, call it K dash, and they take R dash to be this extension, that means R tensor over K and tensoring with K dash. So there is a base change, as you can see. Then these are the observations, and which we have sort of talked about. So let me still quickly run through it. That first observation is that this R dash will be a finitely generated R module, and therefore you have an integral extension and the Krull dimensions would be the same. Now I said that there are two situations, because this is the most general sense, in the most general sense we are trying to give the notion of geometric regularity. So we are taking care of both the characteristic P as well as the characteristic 0 situation. So if you have this K dash over K, if it is purely inseparable, you remember I discussed it in the previous lecture, and I'm sure that you have seen it in some form, maybe during a field extension, Galois theory course, etc. Okay, so if you have a purely inseparable extension, then this ring R dash becomes a local ring. Okay, and if you have M dash is the maximal ideal of R dash, then this residue field at M dash is basically the smallest field containing this K dash and the residue field at M. Okay, so these are the kind of useful thing which becomes very, very useful later on. And if you have the separable extension, okay, then for every maximal ideal M dash of R dash, these two dimensions should match, these two ideals should agree, and this becomes a finite field extension of Km. And how it is useful is that automatically then regularity of R ensures regularity of R dash. So you can understand that this is going to be a very important tool for us when we prove the criteria finally, that if you have a separable extension, then automatically you have all sorts of good things happening very nicely, and in that case you will have regularity of R would imply regularity of R dash. But you will see here that there is a small difference, that in this case, the purely inseparable case, this extension R dash is still a local ring. Okay, in this case you will see that it is not. In fact, it will be like a semi-local ring. Okay, so but that doesn't create much problem. We'll be able to show that R is regular implies R dash is regular. Okay, and finally, you get that these two dimensions, we have just now defined the dimension, if you remember, the transcendence degree plus the dimension and the localization. These two numbers agree for every maximal ideal M dash of R dash. This follows very easily from these observations 1, 2, and 3. You just have to take care of both the cases, that when k dash over k is purely inseparable, k dash over k is separable, and then it would follow that these two dimensions match. Okay, so this this proposition is going to be of much use really. So proof for the first one is kind of obvious. If you remember, we discussed that you just take a k basis. You know that this is a finite extension, so you take a k basis, and then if you take that tensor 1, and then you will get a finite generating set for R dash as an R module. That's easy to see. And the purely inseparable condition for 2, okay, I think I need to open, just a minute, I'll open two pages. Okay, so for proving 2, we are using this purely inseparable condition, and you know, then you get a characteristic exponent. Basically, what is it? I mean, that for every element you get an exponent, so that raised to that element belongs to the smaller, the base field, right? That is the definition of pure inseparability. And then you get a common Q for the characteristic exponent such that this whole thing happens. And once this is true, then this is true. And then how you prove that R dash is local? You just take two maximal ideals and show that they are the same. Okay. Now, how you go about it is you just first verify that they indeed lie over the same M. Well, you have integral extension, you have R is a local ring, M is the maximal ideal, so you know that their contraction have to come to that maximal ideal only. And then if you just start with any A in M dash, and if you can show that A belongs to M double dash also, remember M dash and M double dash are the two maximal ideals that you have started with for R dash. And then automatically M dash will be contained in M double dash, and therefore they must be the same. That's basically the idea. But for A in M dash, you have this, right? But this, you know, is this, and therefore this is contained in this, and therefore this is belonging to this. So therefore it follows that it's also a local ring. And for the other part, what you basically show is that you show that this is a quotient of this, and that this equals this. Okay, so I mean, yeah, I have not written it here because then it automatically follows that since you have, you know, therefore that this is your field, right? And then you just have to check that. Therefore, when you are taking this field, then it is definitely the smallest field containing, because here you are getting from M, and your K dash is there automatically. That the smallest field containing these two is going to be your Km dash. Okay, so Km dash is the residue field at M dash. Okay, now this part is really the interesting one, because you do not have this pure inseparability. Here you had this speciality, okay, and therefore you got this local condition that you showed that two maximal ideas, they are actually the same. Now here you see this is very interesting how you handle this. So let me get into the proof of this. We are proving this part, that if you have a separable extension, then what you show is that then your R dash, this R dash is not going to be local, but I'll be able to find finitely many maximal ideas for this. Okay. And finally, what is that we are trying to prove? These are some intermediate steps, but finally what I'm trying to prove is that if R is regular, then so is R dash. Okay. So therefore, what is it? I'm going to show that this R dash localized at the maximal ideals, that's regular, right? I mean, that's enough. So, and I will have finitely many maximal ideals to deal with. That's exactly what the main part of this proof is all about. So you start with, you know, you are talking about a separable extension. So you have a primitive element, and then suppose fx is the minimal monic polynomial over k of that primitive element. Then fx must be a separable polynomial, because we are talking about a separable extension here. Okay, and your k dash is going to be this. Fine. So you see these steps are kind of it follows very nicely that you take R dash. Now what you do is you take the factorization into irreducible factors and product of monic irreducible polynomials G1 bar and so on up to GR bar, and they are being taken over Km. okay, and then you take its lift in Rx, okay, the monic lift of these Gi bar x to Gix, fine. Now, since fx is separable, therefore these must be mutually co-prime. That is kind of obvious, but I still wanted to highlight because this is where you are, first you have already used, so maybe I should highlight this portion too, because you just be aware that you have already used separability, that you have an existence of a primitive polynomial, and therefore you know all these specialities are going to happen, right? And then again here you use separability in order to get that they are mutually co-prime. So obviously they cannot share a common factor, because in that case you will have multiple roots and so on and so forth, right? So it follows that R dash has precisely R distinct maximal ideas. Now here you are. You don't have a local situation, but you have only finitely many maximal ideals, and they are, so these are the maxima. Remember, just yeah, here you are. Don't forget. So here, this is your R dash, right? This is your R dash. Fine. So therefore, you know who the maximal ideal should be, because you know who the maximal ideals here, because fx factored into this. So these are the maximal ideals containing mfx, okay? And now take Ri dash to be the localization of R dash at Mi. So if I can show that they are regular, then I'm done. With the assumption R is regular. That's the main part, right? That's exactly what I'm mainly trying to prove. And then it follows through these steps that you basically try to understand these ideals, that you compare the heights first, and then you show that what is the dimension. You know how to show regularity, obviously, right? So then I have dimension. On one hand, I have the dimension of Rx localized at these ideals is at least 1 plus dimension R, and again I have this is less than or equal to 1 plus dimension R, and from that it follows that you have, so you know this basically, which I have put in the purple color, that if you have any polynomial ring in n variables over a ring R, then you have this two bounds for the polynomial ring, and if you have the Noetherian condition, then it is exactly equal to n plus dimension of R. Okay, so we are basically using that, and then it follows that this dimension of Rx localized at this is exactly equal to the 1 plus dimension R, because I have bounds both the way. Okay, so and then being monic, this is a non-zero divisor, and therefore a non-zero divisor here. Okay, so basically what you are getting is that you are trying to prove that dimension of Ri dash is dimension of R, but you have regularity of R. Okay, and you have, so yeah, I mean, no, I should not jump, sorry. So what I meant to say is that, see, although I am saying that these are the intermediate steps, but they are not to be ignored. See, we are saying that every maximal ideal M dash of R dash actually satisfies this. And you know who the maximal ideals are. Just now we have written that these are the maximal ideals. Yeah, these are the distinct maximal ideals M1, M2, Mr corresponding to the maximal ideals this of Rx containing this, right? So now basically what you show is that part. What I'm trying to show is this part, that for each maximal ideal, I actually have these things. Now these are, you know, I mean, you just go stepwise and then you get there, that you basically show, you know who these MIs are, and then you have you have this, you just have to show this is a field, and finally you show this. I'm kind of quickly browsing over, because these are some small facts you can sit and check. And finally what you have is that since you have already proved that these dimensions agree, and since you have proved that these extensions of these ideas, these MIs and these are the same, and therefore regularity of R takes care of the regularity of Ri dash. So that's exactly, and what is Ri dash? Ri dash is R dash localized at Mi. Okay, and therefore regularity follows. So here what you just carry with you is that you have purely inseparable, which is a relatively easier case, because then R dash becomes a local ring. But the separable, is a situation where you have finitely many of them, and for each one of these MIs, you basically show that the localization is regular. But in order to do that, I need these facts. So that's exactly why these are being written here, that you basically want to know that for each MI, what is the dimension? In fact, that agrees with dimension of R. And also you have to know the embedding dimensions. So this takes care of that. Okay, so once you know what the extensions are, and then the proof follows. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm actually, maybe I'm rushing a bit, but I just thought that at least let me show you the main parts so that you can go through it, and if necessary, we can again have a discussion later on. Any questions here? Anyway, just first let me show you the main things. So it's basically this is the main part. Please remember, maybe I should mark once again. So here you have already used separability and mutually coprime. By the way, where has mutually coprime been used? Any, see, I'll take you to that slide. See here, I said that these are mutually coprime, right? Where this is the irreducible factorization. But so where where have you really used mutually coprime for this? Or it's not necessary? Basically, these are the maximal ideals that we are proving. Who are they? They are corresponding to the maximal ideals. Obviously, these are all irreducible polynomials, and irreducible where? This is the factorization over Km, remember, okay? The factorization over Km. So you know that, therefore, you have the maximal ideals when you just take their lift in the polynomial ring itself, right? Fine. And then when you localize, then this is what you get. So where has coprime been used? So I'm just putting it under, so mutually coprime star. Where have we used the coprime property? Okay, just think about it. Anyway, so let me proceed, and we will come back if necessary. Fourth part is kind of combination of these things, that these numbers agree, that these numbers that we have defined, this dimension of this r dash over k dash for at m dash, and dimension of r over k at m agree for every maximal ideal m dash over r dash. But this you have essentially proved it already, that in one case this will this will be a local ring and there will be only one maximal ideal. In the other case, there will be finitely many of them, and at each part you have already proved that how the maximal ideals behave, how these fields behave, and therefore we'll be able to show that these dimensions and the transcendence degrees, they all match. Okay. Okay. Now, now this is what we are. Yeah. So now we are coming to the criteria that first of all, let us introduce some notations for the polynomial ring. So you have a polynomial ring over K. This you know is a regular ring. Now let P be a prime ideal. I meant to write A. Okay. Now for F in AP, we will not be using this notation too much, but the only thing is that I wanted to keep R for the ring which I am trying to show that it is regular. So here just this notation has been introduced temporarily. Okay. Okay. So now for if you take any f in the local in this local ring AP, FP denotes the evaluation of f at P. That means the natural image of f in the residue field. This you know. This notation you have seen a number of times. Now for finitely many of them in RP, not RP, again AP, we are now defining the Jacobian matrix. So what is it? That it is the partial derivatives of these FIs and evaluated at P. So evaluated at P, you know, that means its image in KP. So therefore, this is a matrix over the field KP, the residue field. Okay, and this is an R cross N matrix because of this F1, F2, FR and X1, X2, Xn. Fair enough. So this is what we call the Jacobian matrix. Now the first lemma, I told you that the Jacobian criteria is in terms of rank. So first of all, we will see. I can quickly first take you through the results and then we can get into the proof. That first lemma, you will see that this is the result that we are trying to prove. We are trying to get a bound for the Jacobian matrix, for the rank of the Jacobian matrix. This bound is in terms of some dimension, and the definition of M, you will see, it will come. Here it is actually, okay, where N is PRP. Okay. So once again, I'm very sorry, there's lots of typos. Basically here still R hasn't come, it's all A. Okay, so it's the polynomial ring. Then I will come to an affine algebra which will be quotient of this polynomial ring. So it is all A. Please read R as A. So this is going to be my M. What is it? So N is this maximal ideal for the local ring. This is N. And if you take the dimension of M over Kp, then rank of the Jacobian matrix, it's always bounded above by this number. So this is the first thing that we are going to prove. And then we will prove the Jacobian criteria, and you can see what it says. Basically says that if you have a affine algebra, here now I have introduced this R. If you have the affine algebra, so we are going to give the definition of geometric regularity first. That geometric regularity is like, so you have an affine algebra over the field K, and K dash is some finite field extension of K, and then this, if you have this extended ring is regular, then you say that regular means regular at P, okay, localized at P. Then you say that R is geometrically regular over K at P. Fine. And if you do not bother, if you just take K dash to be K, then that means it is the usual regularity basically, right? Okay. Now this will be our notation, and finally we will prove that the rank of the Jacobian matrix for any affine algebra. So in that case, what are F1, F2, FR? They are the defining equations. Fine. This will be bounded above by this rank, by this number. This is the first observation. And this one if and only if 2 is the main part, which says the rank, when it is the full rank, then R is geometrically regular at over K at P, and conversely. Okay, one if and only if 2. And we have one more observation that 2 implies 3, that if R is geometrically regular over K at P, then R is regular at P. Fine. And 3 implies 2 will be true provided you have a perfect field. So this one if and only if 2 is the main part. So if you want to keep it simple, if you just want to keep it regular, well, you know, finite, if we are saying geometrically regular is with respect to any finite extension of K. But if you just keep it at K, then basically you get your regularity, and therefore you have the condition for regularity and equivalent criteria for regularity. And with what notation? With the modest notation that with the with the modest assumption that R is just an affine algebra. R is just an affine algebra over K. Okay, and for this is for any prime ideal. So that's basically what is the Jacobian criteria. But for proving it in general, you have to do a little more, and there that proposition which we have talked about just now, that proposition will be used extensively. Okay, and geometrically regular implies that it is regular. So therefore, you definitely have, if this condition is true, then R is regular at P. In fact, geometrically regular, but this automatically implies that R is regular. So these are the things that we will prove. That is the aim. Okay, now let me again go back. Yeah, so here you are. So once again, here I have the polynomial ring. F1, F2, F are finitely many elements. Sorry. Yeah, fine. And you know that A localized at P is a regular local ring, and therefore you take G1, G2, Gm to be a regular system of parameters of AP. Now what you do is define M to be, I just have to be a little careful. Yeah, it's fine. And now you're denoting this Mn to be the maximal ideal for the local ring AP. This is very irritating. Please allow me to change and I myself am getting confused. EAP. Yeah, it's fine now. Maybe we get this. I believe this is more or less okay now. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so this is the maximal ideal. This is how you define M. Now, what we are trying to prove is that the Jacobian matrix, first observation is this, and then it would follow that rank is bounded above by this number. So first you are proving a factorization of the Jacobian matrix, that it is actually H multiplied by J, G1, G2, Gm at P. So what is G1, G2, Gm? This is very interesting. By the way, this is a very, very important step for proving the Jacobian criteria. That if you start with any R elements in the polynomial ring, okay, and for any prime ideal P, then the Jacobian matrix always can be written like this for where G1, G2, Gm is basically a regular system of parameters. So you can see this is a kind of a standardization that any Jacobian matrix, I mean Jacobian matrix for any F1, F2, Fr can actually be written like this. And what is H? H will be some R cross M matrix. You will see what it is. Okay. So you see, you are sort of in a loose sense, you are kind of doing a basis change. Not quite. Of course, I can understand there is not a basis change. It's a factorization only. But you will see that the essence is that how you get this. Basically, what we will do is we will using this M, we will get a natural vector space, and then we will show that how the row spaces are how the row spaces can be compared, and then you will see, you will understand H, and also this automatically that this H is basically, you will be able to show that H is such that the rank of H is exactly given by this number, and then this would follow. Okay, so this lemma is of immense importance. So let us prove this. Here it is. Here is the lemma that we are proving. Okay, so we are using the notation capital K for this residue field. Now write this Fi as HISGS, okay, where HIS are in AP. This is fine. Remember what G1, G2, Gm are. If you see some problem with notation, do let me know. Is this fine?
Yes.
Okay. Now you just formally differentiate it partially, then you know what you get. Evaluate at P. Evaluating at P, you know, taking its image in KP, basically, right? But we have this, isn't it? G1, G2, Gm, these are a regular system of parameters. So you, therefore, when you take their image in Kp, they will vanish. Okay. So this is simplified to just writing this. So therefore, now you understand what your H is. That is very easy. So your H is this. But the major problem is that this is the, if I talk about the whether how constructive the proof is, I said that the Jacobian criteria is really useful, is very useful for checking whether something is regular or not. But in the very proof, you will see that here, if you are actually trying to figure out what your H is, then you need to know this HISS. This is something which is of much importance. So therefore, you can understand that here lies a problem. But anyway, interesting enough, in the criteria finally, this H is not going to appear in its explicit form. So that is the thing. I mean, it is only an intermediate step to prove this this bound on the rank. And when it has the full rank, then you have the regularity. Basically, that is Jacobian criteria, right? So therefore, but what I just want to point out here is that here in this part, your this HIS is what you still have to determine if you are interested in knowing what your H is. But you will see we don't need it really. Okay, so therefore you have the factorization, because this you know that this is basically the, when you are writing this multiplication, then you are writing this ith row, right? And therefore you have, this is true with H being this. Now, now what is that we are trying to show? We are trying to show that rank of H is exactly equal to the dimension of M over K. Maybe I want to keep this slide open. This is your M. This is your M, right? And you know what is the significance of this n square, etc. Because you already know that this is a regular system of parameters. Therefore, you know what would be the generators, what would be the, finally, if you go to K R mod M, then what would be the basis and things like that, isn't it? So therefore, you want to show that this is the desired rank. That means it is exactly equal to the dimension of this M over Kp. That's exactly what we are showing. Now, first of all, we are identifying K to the power M with this. That's kind of easy to understand, because G1, G2, Gm is a regular system of parameters. And what is your M? What is your, I'm sorry, what is your N? This N is basically PAP, right? The maximal ideal. Therefore, I can identify it like this. Fine. And now, where bar is used to denote the natural image inside this n mod n square. Okay. Now, what you do is I just write this M as the linear combination of this Fi bars, because here you are modulo n square, right? And therefore, I just push the bar at the right place, etc., etc. And then I have my HISP, and therefore, again, with this association, I can write it like this. And this is basically KHI. So what does it prove really? If your M is actually the K-linear combination of these vectors, HIs are the rows of this. Therefore, this M is the row space of this matrix M, of the matrix H, isn't it so? So therefore, where HI is the ith row, so M is the row space of H. Therefore, this is the rank. Fine. Okay. So you wanted to prove this. You wanted to prove this. Then is it proved? You have this factorization. You have proved this. And therefore, can I say that the rank is excuse me, going to be less than or equal to this? Is it fine now?
Yes.
Okay, kind of obvious that once you have this factorization, but remember this whole thing, we are kind of very quickly passing through. I know it's not really good, but still, I just want to sort of focus on certain parts which have some very nice small techniques, and this is what you should be you try to remember. This will be very, very useful. So basically, first we showed, this is essentially linear algebra, that you basically showed that the rank is something, you have the bound. Now we are coming to this spatial situation, and then you will see that this, in fact, I would say you would understand it better. So let me talk about that first. So remember, this lemma is there. Okay, so now I have an affine algebra over K. P is a prime ideal. We say that R is geometrically regular over K at P. If for every finite field extension K dash over K, this is regular. Okay. So this is the definition of geometric regularity, that for every finite field extension K dash over K, if this is regular, then you say it's geometrically regular. And in the Jacobian criteria, we will in fact show that geometrically regular definitely implies that it is regular, because you can understand there's a much stronger condition. So now our R is going to denote this affine algebra. So this we temporarily called A, but we won't be using that notation much. But there will be one place where we will again have to change the notation slightly, but I'll make you aware of that. Okay. So this is your R. This is the affine algebra. This is the Jacobian matrix for F1, F2, Fr at P, evaluated at P. You know what it is. You take the residue field, you evaluate them at the residue field. Now this is a matrix over the residue field K. This much is fine. This we already know. Now we are trying to prove the Jacobian criteria. So first observation is, so look at this, these two. So this was for the polynomial ring. This is for the affine algebra. So basically what we are trying to show is that for the affine algebra case, this bound is exactly this number. So this number, you know, is the sum of the transcendence degree and the dimension at the for the local ring. So this number is given by this. Next, we have these three conditions. Rank is the full rank. R is geometrically regular over K at P. That means you know what it is. For every finite extension K dash of K, the tensor product of the local ring with K dash is actually is regular, and R is regular at P. This you know what it means. Okay. And we are going to prove that these two implications are equivalent. 2 will imply 3, and 3 implies 2 also happens if you have a perfect field. Okay, so then you have the equivalence of all the conditions. Okay. Good. Yeah, this is what we are proving now. So start with the prime ideal P of K x1, x2, xn, such that this little p is the prime ideal of the affine algebra. This is written like this. Then you know that these two residue fields, we are the common one, we are denoting it by capital K, and you also know therefore that the Jacobian matrices are the same. This we denote by n. So this is the extension of this ideal in the local ring. So this is the maximal ideal there. And your this n is PRP. R is the affine algebra, please remember, okay? Now this is regular. We know, we already have proved that polynomial ring is regular. And therefore, you have the dimension and embedding dimension agreeing, but this is height, and you know this is the dimension of the polynomial ring minus the dimension. But this dimension, you know, this is an affine algebra, which is an integral domain. So you have, this is the transcendence degree of the residue field over the small field I should have written. So n minus this. Fine. So you have this number is exactly equal to this. Now what exactly we are trying to prove? We are trying to prove that this rank is bounded above by this. And what we have already proved, Remember, we have proved this for the polynomial ring, that the rank is bounded above by this number. Now see what we do. It's kind of the only thing that you can do. Just work with this exact sequence. Okay, and what was my m? This is my m. Fine. So therefore you have, maybe I take you back to that slide. Yeah. So therefore, you know, the dimension is basically the transcendence degree minus this dimension of this over k. Okay. But this over k is obviously the embedding dimension because it's mu of m, isn't it? So therefore, by the previous lemma, you know what it is. Just now I have moved that bound. You have this, okay? And also, because of this, you have this bound. That means the bound of this, okay? So together, you have the bound on this. Please understand here, see these parts are fine, but please understand where exactly, see your previous lemma was, so this is something which you must understand. See how you are just passing over from the polynomial ring to the quotient. That's it. That's the only thing which we just have to follow. See here, what we have done is basically we had this bound where f1, f2, fr are the polynomials. But that's all right because f1, f2, fr are basically the defining equations for the affine algebra. And here this p is your prime ideal in the polynomial ring. So therefore, we always have this bound for this capital P. That's it. But for this capital P, your Jacobian matrices are the same. So therefore, it is enough to just show the bound for this Jacobian matrix, right? Isn't it so? So therefore, automatically now what you do is basically you have this, and then you are trying to understand how big or how small it is. You are using this exact sequence, and then you are using the dimension to be equal to this. By the way, where is this transcendence degree coming from? Can anyone tell me? Let me open both the slides. Just a minute. Yeah, this is a problem actually. Just have to go back. Yeah, here. So starting with this exact sequence, I have this equality, right? Where is this transcendence degree coming from? A quick answer. Just look the whole slide very, very carefully and you will get your answer.
Like from the exact sequence, we get this relation.
Yeah, you have the alternating sum of these dimensions, and here you have proved it, no?
Yes.
Basically n minus the transcendence degree of capital K, right, over small k, isn't it? So therefore, you have this, and this is the dimension of n mod n square over k, and you have this, which turns out to be the embedding dimension. And now, since you have this, because I need not worry about this whether I have pushed to quotient of a polynomial ring or not, because the Jacobian matrix doesn't change. It's over the same Kp, okay, and that remains unaltered. So therefore, this we have already proved, and this you have just now proved that is equal to this. Therefore, you have an upper bound. But what do you want? You basically want, look at this. Okay, so this is what you want, isn't it so? Okay, so you n minus this dimension. So it is the transcendence degree and the dimension of this. But then you have the embedding dimension and you have the regularity. right? So you have the dimension is less than or equal to this. So from that, it follows that this is less than or equal to the dimension. And this sum is basically this, and therefore you have this. Okay, so it's kind of, I mean, this is the most natural thing one has to do, essentially some linear algebraic steps. But now you see how we make use of these things when we prove the 1 if and only if 2, and finally 2 implies 3. Okay. Okay. So we are proving 1 implies 2 first. What is the assumption? That the rank is the full rank. Okay. And what are we trying to show? We are trying to show that for every finite field extension K dash, this R dash, this is the R dash, which is the extension of this RP over K dash, that means tensor product with K dash over K. We have to show that R dash is regular. Okay. Okay, so now here you see this is a very interesting reduction step. The first case we are considering is when K dash is equal to K. We have to do it for every finite extension, right? Now first we are assuming that K dash equal to K, then R dash is RP. That's clear. And in this case, condition 1, this is condition 1, I have again written it over here, implies that all the inequalities star and star, double star are equalities. Basically, these are the ones I'm talking about. Where is it? Here. Okay. Because it has already reached the desired number, and therefore. Anyway, that's you don't have to go through each line again here. It's kind of obvious. You will understand immediately here. So all the equalities, all these are equalities. In particular, dimension of RP is embedding dimension of RP. So RP is regular. See, remember, what is that we are trying to show? We are trying to show that, yeah, I think I better keep the main page open. Yeah. So we are trying to show that this is regular. Okay. And with what assumption? I have no regularity assumption yet, but I am showing first that this condition with K dash equal to K, we are basically proving the mild form of the Jacobian condition, Jacobian criteria within the proof itself. That we are first showing that K dash equal to K automatically makes this condition automatically proves that your RP is regular. Okay, that is because of this star and double star. So here, if you assume the usual regularity, that means there is no K dash. Okay, then this condition is implying regularity is kind of proved here. And what is being used here? This observation. Just have a look. You have the rank to be equal to this. So rank to be equal to n minus dimension of R over K at P. And you have n minus dimension of R over K here. So all these naturally are becoming equalities. And once you have that, then dimension of RP must be equal to embedding dimension of RP. Therefore, RP is regular. But RP is regular, then automatically R dash is regular because here you are. Okay. If you remember, we talked about these two cases separately. We said that first, that if you have a local condition, purely inseparable condition, then you have R dash becomes local, etc. And for separable, you have R regular implies R dash regular. By the way, I forgot to mention this here. What about R dash? What about the regularity? If R is regular, then R dash is regular. Would that be true in case 2 also? See, for the separable one, we have explicitly mentioned it. We have made use of this and so on. But for this, when R dash becomes local, in that case, and your Km dash becomes this, in that case, if R is regular, R dash is regular, is that true? Basically, you have to tell me what happens to the localization at the maximal ideal, isn't it? Yes? Why I am asking this is because, see here, I have no assumption on the extension. I have to say that for every finite extension, I should have this. Here, obviously, here your k is equal to k dash. Here, I am now only in the basic case. So I don't have to worry about anything really. But I am just trying to understand that what, in this case, do I have that with respect to base change for an extension, for a finite extension, do I still have regularity if a regularity is there? And just think about it. Okay, let me go back to that proof. Okay. Okay. So if you agree that regularity of this takes care of regularity of this, so therefore the case k dash equal to k is being taken care of, because you are basically trying to, what are we trying to prove? We are trying to prove that this is regular. But this is regular for what? I mean, for every finite extension k dash over k. This was the base case. Now, let us take a general finite extension of k. Now, see what is being done here. It's very interesting. So, you take a maximal ideal of R dash. Okay. You take a maximal ideal of R dash and localize. We have to show that this is a regular local ring. Then we are done, right? Now this, let us write it as R tilde P tilde, where R tilde is basically this extension. Okay. And don't forget that R is the affine algebra. So this is it. And P tilde is the prime ideal of R dash. Do you agree? Can I write it like this? Here, it will be a little problem, not right now, not a problem as such, but I'll have to introduce, it's necessary to introduce this notation. Remember, my R is the main affine algebra. R dash is this extension. And now we are trying to show that R dash localized at M for every maximal ideal is a regular local ring. For that matter, for that purpose, I want to see this as an affine algebra. So this R tilde is my new affine algebra with respect to the extension. That's it. I mean, it's nothing special. And I'm saying that the existence of P tilde. Is this fine? Please answer, someone. You have this P tilde connected with this M dash. I want to write this localization of this R dash at M dash as the localization of this affine algebra. Basically, this R tilde is my new affine algebra over the extended base field, and P tilde is a prime ideal, so that this localization is the same as this localization. Okay, if you agree, then I have this and I have this. The Jacobian matrices do not change because of this equality of this containment of the residue fields. So therefore the image, taking the image here and taking image here, you will see that they won't change. And these dimensions, I was telling you, right, there are some intermediate steps. Basically what you will be doing every time is that you want to show you have the full rank, you want to show that you have this you have this extension, we are trying to show that this is regular. Now the best case, that is when k dash equal to k and regularity, that automatically follows from this the star and double star. Okay, now we are trying to show the general case, and in the general case, once again, what do we have to do? What we will be doing is that we will show that this condition, we have extended the base from k to k dash. We have the new affine algebra to deal with. What is it? Nothing. It's just the base has changed. The coefficients are now coming from k dash. That's it. And we are going to verify that it is still the same rank condition which is being satisfied. Okay, it's the same rank condition which is being satisfied. In that case, what is the advantage? The advantage is that we now are back to that k dash equal to k case. Because I have to show that this localized at any maximal ideal is regular local for the case when k dash is a finite extension of k. The case k dash equal to k has been dealt with. Now if I can show that the same condition 1 is satisfied not over k but over k dash, with the assumption that this is satisfied over k, then I am back to k dash equal to k dash, or rather k equal to k situation, k equal to k dash situation, isn't it so? That's exactly what is being verified here, that you first show that the Jacobian matrices are the same, then you show that these two dimensions actually agree. Okay, these two dimensions are what? These two dimensions are the transcendence degree plus the dimension of the local ring. Okay, so all these are the same. So therefore, this shows that, and why is this happening? This is happening because we have already proved this proposition. We have already, I told you, this is a technical proposition which is going to be of use. See, look at this. Okay, what was your R dash? Your R dash was this. So therefore, we are now using this and we have all these equalities. So this shows that condition R1 for R over K and P is the same as that of R tilde over K dash and P dash, and R tilde is an affine algebra over K dash. So therefore, in this case, you are back to this situation and hence you have the regularity. So you get the regularity. This R tilde, P tilde is regular because it's you are in the base case. Now, hence you have the regularity here because R tilde, P tilde is basically your R dash, M dash, and you want to show that this is regular, means this is regular local ring, and hence you have the regularity. Now, this is such a beautiful proof that how this finite condition, finite extension condition is not really making much change at all. I mean, at least for proving 1 implies 2, that means that here you can actually settle down with the base case that k dash is equal to k. Okay, so therefore you have proved that 1 implies 2. Now 2 implies 1. 2 implies 3 is geometrically regular over k at P. Then R is regular at P. I told you already there is nothing, because geometrically regular means for every finite extension, this should be true, that this is the definition, right? that for every finite extension geometrically regular over K at P, if for every finite extension K dash over K, this is regular. So in particular for K dash equal to K, and therefore RP is regular for every prime ideal, and hence you have, if R is geometrically regular over K at P, then R is regular at P. This follows, therefore there is nothing. So 2 implies 1 is what is the more non-trivial part. Okay, so now let us prove that. Okay. And it will be settled through some examples later, that why you do not have 3 implies 2 in general. So I told you, right, for the perfect condition, you also have 3 implies 2. Okay, so or rather all 3 are equivalent, but where exactly this perfect condition is being used, but that we can discuss as a kind of a problem broken into several pieces. That very interesting examples are there. Okay, so 2 implies 1. So you have geometric regularity. You are trying to show that the rank is the same. So R is geometrically regular over K at P. This is the residue field. Okay, so there exists a field extension K dash of Kp and a subfield K dash of capital K dash. Please remember K dash we are talking about is an extension containing K such that K dash over K is finite and purely inseparable, and K dash is the compositum, and K dash over K dash is pure separately alienated. Now this is a field theory proposition that I am making use of. I have put it in purple, and this will be either, I mean, a proof will be added or discussed. So I don't want to get into the detailing right now. Okay, let us rather use this. Actually, the proposition says that if you have a finitely generated extension, then there is a field extension K dash over K and a subfield, okay, such that this extension is finite and purely inseparable. You know, you kind of, you know, whenever you are trying to form, say, construct a closure, separable closure or purely inseparable closure and things like that, this is typically this is how you go about it, that you sort of show that every finite extension has a kind of a intermediate field which has the desired property, and you can actually understand what kind of field that would be. That would be the smallest one containing both this, and the finitely generated extension actually becomes, I mean, ideally I should have drawn a tower and things like that, but I've avoided it for the time being. So this is being used here. Okay, so here what is the situation? Don't forget, here we have the geometric regularity. I'm trying to show that this is true. The dimension, the rank is the full dimension, full rank. Okay, so that is equal to n minus that dimension. So I have the residue field to work with, and by this proposition, I will have an extension of this residue field and a subfield K dash, okay, of subfield K dash, little K dash of capital K dash, which contains little k, such that K dash over K is finite and purely inseparable. You will see how it is being used. You will see in a minute. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is your R dash. Now, just a minute. I have to be a little careful with the notation because I told you that I will be changing my notation. See, here it is. Just a minute, please. Yeah, see here, no, still the notation is the same. See, the R dash is the extension with respect to K dash, the same here. And then my R tilde was the new affine algebra. Okay, R was the affine algebra that we have started with. Then this is the base change, and R tilde was the new affine algebra, so that you can write this. This is the affine algebra. There's basically over the extended field. I mean, with the over K dash. That's it. Now here, not able to recall exactly. There's a small change. Anyway, this will come on the way. Okay. So, yeah. So R dash is this. then R dash is local and Km dash is this K dash Kp, where M dash is the maximal ideal. By the way, what is that we are using here? How suddenly R dash has become local? Can anyone tell me? See it with this, no, with this light. Someone? How suddenly R dash has become local?
Like we put in that proposition, if R is local, then R dash is local.
No, yeah, that purpose is absolutely correct. But because of this, okay.
Because K dash is purely inseparable.
This is the purpose behind choosing this field. See, you are purely in the characteristic zero situation and all, you have nothing to worry about. But you know, we are dealing with the general situation. So whatever your case be, you are kind of, you can be in a in a place that you have a finite and purely inseparable condition, and because of that, you know that R dash becomes a local ring. Otherwise, it will be only semi-local, isn't it? So here, that is the purpose, that therefore you have this is local, and we have already proved that this will be the residue field with respect to M dash will be at M dash will be exactly this compositum. Okay, now R dash, I'm writing this once again here. The notation does not change. See, R dash, we basically want to see it as an affine algebra, and that's what we are doing. And this is indeed the case where you have a finite inseparable, a purely inseparable extension of little k. So this is your new field, base field, and P tilde is a prime ideal that you know that we can actually, we are writing this as an extended ring. Okay, and just a minute. I mean, this is the problem. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, and you have the equality of this. Basically, see, what we are doing is, I'll come to the main point and then I'll come back. See, understand what we are trying to do. We are trying to prove we have this assumption that it is geometrically regular over K at P. So that means whatever be your extension, you have that with respect to the extension, you have the regularity, right? At if you localize for every prime ideal P, you take the extension and then you have the regularity, and from that you are coming to this. So obviously you have started with your P and so on. Now see what you will be doing. How do you finally show this? So what if you are trying to show that some rank is actually the desired rank? First of all, you are going to compare the Jacobian matrices. So that is always the method. That's what we have done before. That's what we are going to do now again. See, that's exactly what we are trying to say, that you have the regularity because of separably generated. No, you have the regularity here because of the purely inseparable condition, and just a minute, I need to be a little careful with my notations. This I was telling you, see here we are back to this R dash, so that is what we need to be a little careful about. Yeah, this is my R dash. No, it's fine. Yeah, see, you remember what we had proved previously. Remember what we have proved previously. Actually, this should be R dash M dash. This is R dash M dash, right? So what we had proved previously. Here is my R dash. M dash is a maximal ideal. In this case, with the choice of K dash being purely inseparable over K, this is becoming a local ring, and therefore you have only one maximal ideal to deal with. That is a speciality. Now, come to this localization, then this is exactly equal to this. This should be r dash localized at m dash. Sorry about it. Okay, so this here you have this situation, and we have already proved that this is true. That's exactly what we are claiming here using the same fact here. Okay, so only difference being that if you are having a purely inseparable extension, then this is local and you have only one maximal ideal to deal with, otherwise finitely many. That's the whole idea. Okay, so you have the equality of the Jacobian matrices, and condition for R over K and P is the same as the condition for R tilde over K dash and P dash, same kind of reduction. Okay, so the condition of condition 1 for R over K at P is the same as condition 1 for this, and this means what? That means it's going to be, if you are showing that that condition 1 is being satisfied, condition 1 is that the rank is the full rank. So condition 1 is satisfied for this, then it would be enough. That's basically what we are. So therefore, you are replacing this by this. Why? Because the Jacobian matrix is not changing, and you are in an advantageous position that that you have now a local ring to deal with. You have only one maximal ideal, etc., etc. Okay, so it is enough to prove that RP is regular and K over K is separably generated. Now comes the point. Where have I suddenly come to the separably generated issue? There it is. So the main thing is, we are basically showing the Jacobian matrices are the same, but you see, now look at this. So you have, this part is a little tricky. So P tilde is a prime ideal of R dash, and we have K P dash. What is P dash? A moment, please. There's no P dash. I wanted to write K P tilde. Yeah, so that's the problem. I was telling you that it's a bit of a mess with the notation. Anyway, I mean, just I just sort of leave certain detailing out and come to the main part. See, what I'm trying to show is, it's not P dash, it's always P tilde. No. P tilde. Yeah, what I'm saying is, see, we have this equality, but this K dash, I know only that this, so if I, it's a bit involved, so just a minute. Yeah, so I know that if I start, this is my base residue field. If I can get an extension like this, such that this K dash is a finite inseparable, purely inseparable part, and K dash over K dash, the capital K dash over little k dash is separably generated part. Okay, so I have these two parts, the purely inseparable part and the separably generated part. You know, this is typically what happens. You can get a tower such that you have the purely inseparable part here and the separably generated part here. Okay, so now what I'm saying is, the moment I push over to this new prime ideal with respect to this new affine algebra, I have this equality. Okay, so therefore, look at this. So your K dash and KP dash have agreed. That's desired. Why? Because I want to prove that, I want to basically show that the whole condition, if I prove it for R tilde and for the prime ideal P tilde, then it is enough because of this fact that the Jacobian matrices are the same. But then with respect to P tilde, you have that this with respect to K dash, because now you are extending it with respect to an intermediate field K dash. It's not the base field anymore. So in that intermediate field part, the lower part is purely inseparable and the upper part is separably generated. So therefore, you are not exactly in the same situation, with the only exception that your that field extension is now a separably generated extension. That's exactly what the point is. See this, which over K dash, because now it has changed over K dash. Why? Because we have made it changed over K dash. This was purely inseparable, and this part is separately generated. Okay, now you have all the equalities, therefore the Jacobian matrices are the same, and therefore look at this condition. Condition 1 for R tilde over K dash and P tilde, and condition 1 for R over K and P, they are the same. R over K at P is what we want to prove, but we are saying that we have made it happen for R tilde over K dash and P tilde, and we will be proving for this. What is the advantage? It is therefore advantage is the following. So it is enough to prove that if RP is regular and this is separably generated, then one holds. Now I have purely pushed the extension to a separably generated extension. This is the advantage. Okay. Now this is a very nice, very nice reduction step. For 1 implies 2, we showed that they are exactly the same. There is no difference at all. They were exactly the same here. Here there was no, because it was not required, because you were just trying to show that rank condition 1 implies condition 2. You were just trying to show that it is regular, geometrically regular. That means something is after tensoring, etc., is a regular local ring, right? It's a regular ring. So basically, therefore, you just had to show that this condition is satisfied for a different R and for a different K dash, and this R is actually over K dash, and so on and so forth. And therefore, this with the help of those star and double star and so on, you prove that these two Jacobian matrices are the same, the dimensions are the same, and etc., etc. And therefore, if you reduced it to the base case, and the following thing happened. But now you are trying to show the converse, where you have the geometric regularity, and you are trying to show that certain rank is the expected full rank. For that to happen, what you are doing is that you are basically first reducing to the case that it is a local ring. First, you are reducing to the case that is a local ring by choosing an intermediate one. So you are from K, you have gone to K dash, and then from K dash, you have gone to the separably generated extension. That is what we are calling, your K dash, and then basically you want to show that if you have a separably generated extension, then for that it happens. Why? That is important because here your this Kp dash and K dash are the same. And what was K dash? Here you are. This was your K dash, right? Which is the separably generated extension. Okay, so now how this separably generated extension is being used is the last part of the proof. Let me just show you the main parts again. Yes. I keep this slide open. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this also proves that C implies 1 under the assumption K is perfect, because you know what a perfect field is, then automatically separately generated condition comes, and etc. So this is fine. Now, okay. So what is that we are trying to prove? We are proving that RP is regular. If RP is regular and K over K is separately generated, then condition 1 holds, because you have reduced to this case. Okay. Okay. So you have this. You prove 1. That means the rank of the Jacobian matrix. Xi bar denotes the natural image of Xi in K. So this is your K. Assume that this is the transcendence degree of capital K over small k. remember your capital K is, just a minute, is there are too many, yeah. Yeah, so this is my capital K, okay, and K dash was my extension, so that K dash over that intermediate field is separably generated, and K little k over that is purely inseparable. Okay. Now you sort of rearrange x1, x2, xn such that this is a separating transcendence base. Okay, and then you identify this intermediate field k x1, x2, xt with respect to this. Okay, so let me take you to the main part. What you are doing is basically you are seeing this as a localization, because these are the images in the field. So this is basically the localization, where this is the all the non-zero elements. Okay, and then the algebraic independence, because it's a separating transcendence base, so the algebraic independence of this implies that this should be 0. Yeah, this is a problem. I just need to check what I yeah, my P was this prime ideal. Mm, did I mention P somewhere? Anyway, I mean, I think I missed the notation of P. By P, you know what I mean. I mean the lift in the polynomial ring for the prime ideal P. That we from P we came to that P tilde, then P tilde. I have that lift in the polynomial ring. So that is that capital P. I think I missed it somewhere, got hidden somewhere. And then you are trying to see this as this localization as this. Okay, where C is this. So what is this? This is basically so you know what you are doing. So you have, this is a separating transcendence base. It's coming from where? It's coming from, this is a separably generated extension. So therefore you know that you can write it as K adjoint finitely many elements, where this is a separating transcendence base. Okay. I'm sorry, this is a finite extension. You write it like this. From this, you extract the separating transcendence base, where T is the transcendence degree of this extension, K over little k. Okay, and therefore you know that you have, now what you are doing is you are basically taking these xi bars to be the surjection, to be the images inside the field from the polynomial ring. These are in the polynomial ring, and then you are moving them into the field. So now you are coming back to the polynomial ring case. So this is the ring intermediate one, which you are calling to be L. So you have this capital K over here, and then you have L as the intermediate one, and then you have little k. So little k, L, and then capital K. Okay. So this you are getting that through this separating transcendence base. Fine. So you have the algebraic independence there. So now this is the polynomial ring. Okay, which we are saying is basically the localization. And what have you inverted? You have inverted x1 to xt, isn't it so? So if you are trying to get this polynomial ring with respect to this field, where you have only the last n minus t of the variables, that means the first t variables you have inverted. So that's what you have done. You have taken the multiplicatively closed set with respect to this. Then you are just trying to see this, that how this p behaves. That's because of the algebraic independence. This is empty. Therefore, this, you have this localization. You will understand what is being done in a minute. where M is basically this S inverse of P, in the localized ring, and therefore you have this equality that N is the dimension, then this is the dimension of this plus this is the dimension of this plus transcendence degree of K, this is the dimension of this plus the transcendence degree you know is already T, okay, and this is dimension of Cm plus T because your because of this observation, okay, and therefore you have dimension of Cm is n minus T, dimension of Cm is n minus T. Now, how it is being used now? See, what you are doing is, remember, what we were trying to do is this, that if you know that this is regular, okay, this is the reduced case, and this is separably generated, then you are trying to prove one. That means what? That the Jacobian matrix at P has the desired rank. So now, in order to do that, first you noticed that you can actually reduce the case because of its separately generated condition. You have actually come to that separating transcendence based case and used algebraic independence of x1, x2, xc, and you have reduced to this case. And finally, what you are doing is you are writing these polynomials. I'll show you the main part. I'm kind of it's actually a longish proof, so I don't have time to go there. In just a minute. Just a minute, let me show you the main part, then you will sort of understand that. Yeah, see, you want to, let me go backward, it's often faster. So basically this is what I want to show, right? For this to show, I need to show that you know what this is, okay? So for this, now I have this here. So basically here, this is coming because you have the regularity, okay? So the regularity, then you have the embedding dimension, then the inequality of this, again, we are using that star and double star, and then this, basically what you will be doing is, you are going to show that this rank is actually hitting the correct number, and for that, the calculation is here, that you are basically showing that you had this factorization of the Jacobian matrix, and then for this factorization, you want to know what is this, what is the rank of this, isn't it? So for calculating the rank of this, you just show that here how do your GIs behave, that GIs depend only on these, and then it is 0 for j greater than or equal to I plus 1, etc., etc. So anyway, I mean, I'm quickly, this is sort of, it's a bit lengthy one, so it takes a little while, but you can understand that if you are just worrying about regularity, then you know this is automatically taken care of. In the very first proof itself, we have seen that how we have proved that Jacobian condition implies regularity, and regularity implies Jacobian condition is also inbuilt here. But what I just want to show you, please go through it, and then again we can have some discussion on this in one of these days later on as a special session or whatever you call it, okay, or as a tutorial. That, but what is interesting in these proofs, that 1 implies 2 and 2 implies 1, that this changing it to once you have changed it to this k dash equal to k case, and the other one you have changed it, how you have actually changed it to a separately generated case. So these two are very, very interesting reduction cases. And then I have just one a statement to make. I don't have time to talk about it really. That you can actually for a ring you can define, this is how you call it, define the regular locus, that look at all the prime ideals for which Rp is regular. This is what we denote by reg R, okay? And you can in fact show that this, if you take that set of all pieces, that R is not geometrically regular over K and P. So you have already seen that you have this geometric regularity always implies regularity, but geometric regularity becomes equivalent only under perfect condition. But anyway, so this set is what is called the singular locus. Okay, this all those prime ideals for which see this. Let me read it out. If R is an affine algebra over a perfect field, then the complement of reg R is precisely that where it is not regular and therefore not geometrically regular. Okay, because for a perfect field they're equivalent, and that is what is called singular locus. And you have this interesting corollary to Jacobian criteria and so on, that if you have an affine algebra over a field K, then singular locus is actually closed and regular locus is actually an open subset in the Zariski topology of the prime spectrum. Okay, so this anyway is added in the proof, but this is pretty long, but you should know this. This is a very important result. Okay, I'm already I've overshot time, so thank you so much.